When talking about some of the most talented teams in the NFL, we can't ignore the Atlanta Falcons. It was the same story heading into the 2024 season as it is the 2025 season, that this team is loaded with young talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Last year, this team started 5-2 and were led by veteran Kirk Cousins coming over from the Minnesota Vikings, but ultimately his play down the stretch was not good enough, as well as the defense having a historically low pass rush win rate and sack rate during the 2024 season, ultimately leading to an 8-9 finish. They missed the playoffs, and the Buccaneers won the division for another year. Heading into 2025, this team has made some moves like letting go of longtime veterans like Grady Jarrett on the defensive side of the ball, and also making some moves to strengthen this roster. We have Michael Penix Jr. as the full-time starter at quarterback. The schedule for the Atlanta Falcons looks promising, and the talent is there just like it was in 2024. So let's talk about how this Atlanta Falcons team could be a sleeper team to potentially make some noise in the 2025 season. The 2024 Atlanta Falcons team had its talents, and those talents aren't necessarily leaving in 2025. Bijan Robinson returns. He is their star player. Robinson had over 1,400 rushing yards last season, improved his touchdown numbers, and his workload also increased, as well as Drake London. Drake London is another key cog in this offense. London has taken a step forward every year in his NFL career, and, we were all excited about him and potentially Kirk Cousins having a great connection. It looks like him and Michael Penix Jr. have a better connection. Penix targeted him all the time when they were on the field together last season, and it could lead to bigger and better things for that duo in 2025. We talked about Robinson and London. Let's talk about the other talented player that hasn't figured it out yet, and it is Kyle Pitts. We got to stop saying he's talented, and we got to start saying what he is. Pitts is a really athletic player who struggles to separate at times and isn't the best blocker, and that's what he is heading into this point in his NFL career. And we still don't know if he's going to get traded, but he does have the talent to produce. Let's not also forget about Darnell Mooney within this offense, who had a breakout season this past year and is a really solid wide receiver too in the NFL. Also, the offensive line, not necessarily the flashiest unit, but you have a player like Jake Matthews there, Chris Lindstrom, two really solid pieces. And this team ranks around the middle of the pack in run block and pass block win rate, and it is enough. Last year, it wasn't enough, though, just because Kirk Cousins had maybe the most limited mobility we've seen at the quarterback position in quite some time. Coming off an Achilles injury, he couldn't move laterally, and they stuck him either in pistol or in the shotgun to where he couldn't necessarily roll out or do anything except for get the ball out as quick as possible and hope and pray that the offensive line holds up. That's not necessarily the best strategy to give a team a chance to win, and that's why they made the move from him to Michael Penix to open up this offense, even if it was earlier than expected, because Kirk Cousins does have a massive contract and an incentive for this team to play him. He was just so immobile last year that they said, hey, Michael Penix Jr. is the answer. And if you want to know why we're not concerned about them switching this quarterback over, Cousins had a 66 grade, ranking him 23rd in the NFL for PFF. Penix had an 89 PFF grade when he started. So the switch should provide a little bit of a boost in 2025. As far as the defense goes in 2024, this team was among one of the most frustrating units for people to watch. And I mean, I couldn't imagine being an Atlanta Falcons fan watching this defense. There was no pass rush whatsoever. They brought in guys like Matthew Judon to solve it, and Judon was a non-factor for this team. They finished 31st in the NFL in sacks. Ironically enough, they only had 31 sacks last year. There was a big drought that happened in the middle of the year where they couldn't record a sack as well. And in terms of pass rush win rates and run stop win rates, they were among some of the worst ratings in the NFL. This defense is led by veterans like Jesse Bates, formerly led by now Chicago Bear Grady Jarrett, and other pieces mixed in there as well. But the defense isn't necessarily in a good spot to compete in 2024. But what they did in this offseason is they completely retooled this defense. And let's talk about that draft class that has me very excited that will help this Atlanta Falcons team in 2025. The draft class includes 2 first-round picks. Jalen Walker, let's start with him. Walker is almost a hybrid type player, but the Atlanta Falcons are going to use him mostly as an edge rusher. Walker played linebacker. He played edge in college, and he performed very well. One of the higher graded players in PFF, and also one of the higher graded athletes on the defensive side of the ball coming out of college. He should transition very well to the edge at the NFL level, and it should make him a very solid impact player right there. And that's one check mark for the Falcons is they go and get an edge rusher. Then they outdo themselves and say, hey, we really need to figure this out, fix this position. Let's go get probably the most talented speed rusher in the draft. Reminds me a lot of Hassan Reddick, and that is James Pierce Jr. Now, James Pierce Jr. does not come without his question marks, and his production is unmatched in college, right? He has character concerns, and he also is a one-dimensional player right now. Isn't a power rusher or isn't very good against the run, but man, this guy can rush the passer. And with the Falcons taking two big investments in the first round as both edge rushers, I think it is a great move for this team to go establish a need at the position. In free agency, they also added Leonard Floyd, and that gives them a third rotational pass rusher that'll keep these guys fresh, and it gives them a veteran to learn off of who's had a lot of success in the NFL. As far as the rest of the draft goes, I think the other player I want to highlight is Xavier Watts. Watts was one of two safeties in college with 90-plus PFF grades over the last two seasons. He had 13 career interceptions at Notre Dame and is a really solid safety. I think him and Jesse Bates could form one of the sneakiest duos in the NFL at the back end. And you obviously have A.J. Terrell at cornerback. Mike Hughes had a little bit of a resurgent last season for the Falcons. This team has a sneaky secondary. You add a little bit of pass rush mixed in there. They have two interior defensive linemen that I really like as well. The biggest hole is at linebacker, and I think if they can, cover that up in the passing game well and potentially not be as good against the run, I still think it allows them a chance to be much better in 2025 with the improvements on the defense. Offensively, one of the biggest things I want to highlight is their free agent loss in Drew Dalman. Now, they lose a really solid center, one of the top centers in the NFL, but I want to talk about the upgrades this offense is going to have in 2025. They didn't make big, flashy moves on the offensive side of the ball, but I think the flashiest move of them all is Michael Penix Jr. being the starting quarterback heading right into the 2025 season. Penix, we know out of college, had really good production out of Washington, was one of the older quarterbacks coming out, and he's one of the most polished quarterbacks in the draft. He had some injury concerns. He was able to sit last year. He's healthy right now, and he looked really good last season when he filled in as the starting quarterback. Now, the scheme obviously was built around Kirk Cousins being the quarterback, and Penix inserted himself in there, which was very nice to see. Now you get a whole offseason where the Falcons can figure out, hey, we have a whole year that we can scheme up for Michael Penix Jr. and we can actually design a rollout for Michael Penix. We can have plays that just actually move the quarterback and move the pocket, which will only help this offense have better days with the talent they have around them, especially at the running back, wide receiver position. And I think having an elite running back room like Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier only helps Michael Penix in this year. The other thing that we need to talk about is, despite me being excited about the improvements of this team, we have to look at the reality of the situation. This team has a very easy schedule heading into 2025. Now, they open up the season against the division rival Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That will be a tough matchup, but a very winnable game that could set the tone for the season if they're able to walk away with that win. After that game, you play the Vikings, who made the playoffs last year, but also have a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who is just getting his feet wet. After that, you go Panthers. Then you have a tough 3-game stretch between the Commanders, bye week, Bills, and then you go 49ers. But after that point, the Falcons have a really good chance of winning a majority of these games. After those, it goes Dolphins, Patriots, Colts, Panthers, Saints, Jets, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Rams, Saints. If they're able to walk away with that stretch with just 2-3 losses, this team puts themselves in a prime position to potentially win a weak NFC South and make a playoff berth with this talent. And I think with the talent alone, having two good edge rushers potentially, this team could make noise in the playoffs. I'm not going to say they're a Super Bowl contender. I'm not going to go that far, but they do have the talent to make some noise in the playoffs. And it is an exciting future for the Atlanta Falcons right now. The Atlanta Falcons offseason moves have put them in a prime position to make a playoff run this year. Between the two edge rushers and Jalen Walker and James Pierce and the addition of Xavier Watts, this defense is no longer a unit that teams are going to circle on their schedule and say, hey, this is an easy matchup for us. They're going to have to respect the Atlanta Falcons, that they have two really young and talented edge rushers. They have a formidable back-end duo between Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts. And then obviously we know the offense has the talent, and Michael Penix proved last year that he could be a solid quarterback in the NFL. Add all that in, and you have a favorable schedule, and the Atlanta Falcons are in a prime position in 2025 to make some noise and potentially make the playoffs. Let me know down in the comment section below if you think the Falcons have a legit chance at winning this division and potentially making some noise in the playoffs. If you like this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Blitz Sports media stuff, and I will catch you guys next time.